Namah Shivaya. Episode 14, Chapter 3, verses 36 to 43. What impels us to commit a sin and how to remove this impulse? Truly, we are Satchit Ananda Atma, and Atma's sixfold qualities are Aishwarya, overlordship, Viryam, strength, Yasas, fame, Shri, wealth, Jnanam, knowledge, and Vairagya, dispassion. However, due to our accumulated karmas, we are jivas. We are only able to tap a certain measure of these qualities. This determines our guna composition, sattva, rajas, tamas, which is reflected as our character. If sattva predominates, followed by rajas and then tamas, we have composure, we are tranquil, we are ready for the knowledge of Brahman. Number 2, if rajas predominates, followed by sattva, then tamas, we have leadership qualities, we have righteousness, we are ready for karma yoga. Number 3, when rajas predominates, followed by tamas, then sattva, we have leadership quality, but we are selfish, we are self-centered. And number 4, when tamas predominates, followed by rajas and then sattva, we are lazy, deluded, we are dull. So these are the 4 main groups we can fall into. Our character can fall into one of these 4 groups. In verse 36, Arjuna's mind is in a state of confusion. So he asked a question: what impels a person to commit sin? As though something is sitting in his mind, forcing him to do an action that is not righteous. Though not desiring, he is not able to stop himself, as though some force is sitting in his mind, impelling him to do this wrong action. This means Arjuna is between number 2 and number 3. His character is within these 2. He has rajas with sattva as second and tamas as third. He has leadership quality, which is righteous. At the same time, he also does not have the willpower to stop this wrong act. So rajas, tamas and sattva also influencing his decision. So he's between 2 and 3. And Sri Krishna replies, and verses 37 to 43 are Sri Krishna's reply to this question. He says, there is no external force sitting in our mind impelling us to do sin. It is our thought, our desire, our anger born of rajoguna, which is very powerful. Kama esha, krodha esha, rajoguna samudbhava. It is so powerful. It is a glutton. It is a sinner. We must know it is our enemy in this world. This means we are both a devil and an angel to ourselves. One part of us knows it is wrong to commit a sin. Another part does not have the willpower to stop that action. Because this desire is a glutton, mahasana. The more we fulfill a desire, the more desires arises. Just like fire, the more fuel we put it, the more it wants. There is no such thing as fulfilling all our desires. There is no such thing as our last desire. And this desire is a great sinner, Mahapapa. Once we commit a sin for the entire life, we will regret it. Verses 38 and 39, Sri Krishna tells us how these desires operate. First he said, it is like a fire covered by smoke. Fire is self-effulgent, self-revealing. It does not need an external light to be seen, yet it can be covered by smoke. In the same manner, we are Satchit Ananda Atma. We have two Vivekas. We have the Dharma, Adharma Viveka. We know what is right action and what is wrong action. We have the Atma, Anatma Viveka. We know Atma is the only truth in this entire universe. Everything else is Mithya. Everything else is existent because of Atma's presence. Yet, our wisdom is covered by our desires to keep us in ignorance. That is how powerful desires are. And the second example, he says, like a mirror covered by dust. All we have to do is to take a wet cloth and clean the mirror. However, the next day, the mirror will get dusty and it keeps repeating. So this is a temporary measure. Cleaning the mirror means cleaning our desires, checking our desires as it arises and taking some disciplinary action to remove these desires. So this is a temporary measure. As karma yogis and sannyasis, this is a primary step. We have to do samadhamma, contemplate on these desires to decide whether to go or not to go along with them. So this is a temporary measure. And the third example he gives, a fetus in a mother's womb. A baby takes 9 months to be born. But once a child is born, it does not need the mother's womb anymore. It is free from the mother's womb. In the same manner, when we purify our mind, gain the knowledge of Brahman and convert it to wisdom, we are free from all desires. So first he teaches us there is a temporary measure when we are karma yogis and sannyasis. Then when we become wise, we are free from all desires. That is why men of wisdom knows desires are their greatest enemies, because knowledge is covered by this insatiable fire of desires. Desires means there is a sense of limitation within us. It is like a perpetual spring. When one desire gets fulfilled, another desire arises. There is no end to desires. It is very difficult to fulfill desires, dushpurena. Just like fire, the more fuel we put it, the more it wants. So the only way to permanently remove this is the knowledge of Brahman. And verses 40 and 41, Sri Krishna teaches us the temporary measure for sannyasis and karma yogis. First he tells them where these desires operate. Then he teaches them two disciplines, sama and dhamma. He says these desires are in our intellect, mind and our senses. Indriyasya mano buddhir asya adhishthanam uchyate. A desire arises first in the mind as a fancy. We imagine how good to have this, how good to eat this, how good to go here, how good to go there. It's a fantasy that arises in the mind. Then it turns into a desire at the intellect level. When we say, yes, I must go there, I must see this, I must eat this. So a desire arises, a decision is made at the intellect level. Then it becomes a desire. Then it is at the sense level that we enjoy or suffer the pain of that desire. It is not always that a desire will give us pleasure, it also will give us pain. Because the result is not in our hand. It can be opposite to what we expected. So now Sri Krishna said, teach us the first step, that is sama, which we have to do it at the mind and intellect level. So when a desire arises in our mind, we must do self-analysis. If we want to buy something, we must check our budget, whether it is useful, whether it is beneficial, whether it is worthwhile. After considering all this, then we can go or not to go along with this desire. This deliberation at the mind and intellect level is called sama. But suppose we agree to go along, then at the next level, at the sense level, we want more and more. Then we must put a no. At the sense level, it is always a no. There is no option. This is how we remove our desires. We must be alert all the time before these desires remove our wisdom and make us a sinner. We are not eliminating our desires. We are only maintaining a distance to decide to go or not to go along with them. So samadhamma is at the primary level when we are karma yogis or sannyasis. And the last two verses, Sri Krishna tells how the men of wisdom handle their desires. When we are wise, we know we are Satchit Ananda Atma. We know the tattvas, that there is only one truth in this world, that is Brahman, which is the Atma in us. This pure consciousness is in every cell in our body. It is in our intellect. Our mind, our senses, our physical body are infused with this absolute bliss. So is it necessary to fulfill a desire to experience some happiness? Or is it not worthwhile purifying our mind, gaining the knowledge of Brahman, converting it to wisdom, and discover that absolute bliss is our nature? This is how men of wisdom freed themselves from desires. Even when we analyze a desire being fulfilled in our ignorance, we think that object, sense object, gave us that happiness. But when we look at it from an intellectual point of view, from the Atma stand of view, we understand that happiness from the sense object and from our senses is all due to Atma's presence. For example, when we taste a sweet mango, the sweetness in the mango is due to Atma's presence. The ability of our taste buds to taste that sweetness is due to Atma's presence. So what is the basis of this happiness is Satchit Ananda Atma. That is why Sri Krishna addresses Arjuna as Mahabaho, mighty arm, telling him that you have the resources within to discover that you are absolute bliss. There is no need to go after desires to find some few moments of happiness. You are absolute bliss. All you have to do is to purify your mind. with the knowledge that Atma is not the doer. Atma does no action, but because of Atma's presence, our body, mind, senses are able to do action. Thereby we renounce our sense of doership. This is called Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Through knowledge, we renounce our sense of doership. When we are able to do that, we purify our minds. When our minds get purified, we are ready for the knowledge of Brahman. And when it is converted to wisdom, we experience absolute bliss. This is how we remove all our desires. Then there is no impulse to commit a sin. And chapter 4, we are going to learn all about Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. We learn that Atma is actionlessness. But because of Atma's presence, this body is able to do action. So with this, we conclude chapter 3. Chapter 4 will be posted in 3 weeks. Till then, Om Tat Sat. Om is the name of Brahman, who sustains and protects everything. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashisate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.